All right, folks, Zach Smith here, Plant Dude. Just came back from a very challenging site walkthrough with a former and maybe returning customer. So we got a big property, very nice property, but very old plants. And the plants have a lot of different little disease issues going on, and the customer has one disease in mind, right? This is like plant hypochondria or something like this. Well, the issue is very complicated, as many horticulture issues are, okay? What's the number one problem I see with landscaping that's not thriving? There's no mulch, and their irrigation system is jacked. It's messed up. Now, many people have opinions about mulch, so it's like, you know, you're stepping on hallowed ground when you're walking into somebody's property, into their landscape or their garden, to answer to them the question they want to know, which is, why are my plants sick? And then when I tell them that we can't just say why from me walking onto the property and looking at them, but we can see the benchmark ideal conditions and how far off we are, we'll start with, we don't have ideal conditions. These are them. Mulch, irrigation, plants that don't go together, and maybe the place the plants are planted is just not good. Maybe it's a skinny little strip of soil between concrete and the building, and it's hot. Whatever. So, here's how it went today. The customer believed they had voles. Now, they did have voles, but they did not have voles causing leaf spot on their big, tall prunus hedge. They did not have voles causing the junipers to be sparse. They did not have voles causing the 30-year-old pittosporums to have aphids. You know, that is not the issue. But because vole seems to be the bad guy, we've got bad guy, must be bad guy everywhere. So I did do my best to explain that a plant that is stressed out is going to be susceptible to fungal and bacterial attack, and a plant that's suffering from these microbial pathogens is going to start to die. Maybe dies from the tips of the branches downward or from the roots upward, and it's slow, and by the time you see symptoms, things have been going wrong for a long time. So what do we do? Well, when we have this stalemate of, well, I'm not putting in a new irrigation system and I don't like mulch, this is tricky, right? Plant dude does not like this situation. What I try to do is then back off to a place of, okay, what are you willing to do? And they may be willing to irrigate with the garden hose a little bit less and irrigate with a drip system a little bit more. That's not the fix, but it is a step in the right direction, and we're hoping to see some success. When we want a plant to turn around from the brink of disease and death, it's going to take years, potentially. If it's a big woody shrub or a tree, years. And people don't like that. I don't deliver good news, folks. As a horticultural consultant, arborist, I don't deliver good news because there's not a lot of good news to be given. Most landscapes that have problems across the whole place, okay? Because it's the whole system. It is an ecosystem, and the homeowner or caretakers are they're the core of it. They're the decision makers, right? There's no decision maker. If you go out to the edge of town, up into the hills, wherever plants are just growing like weeds, that's nature. Nature's got that down pat. We don't do nature real well in the landscape. Sorry about the lighting. I'm just cruising home. We don't do nature well in the landscape. We think we do, but we don't. I see landscapes that are put in, sustainable native gardens, overwatered, planted too deeply, root-bound plants. There are no root-bound plants in nature, folks. There are no plants planted too deeply in nature, folks. There is no lack of mulch in nature, folks. That's just not happening. So what we do is we do our best. And I'm here to basically impart on everybody. If you are caring for plants, if you are caring for plants, not Mother Nature, you are potentially the problem. Don't feel bad about yourself. I learned by killing a lot of plants with enthusiasm, and I've hurt and harmed and damaged plants in every way possible. I've loved plants to death. Number one fatality of all plants in my book is love them to death. They're not pets. You don't water, walk, and feed them every day, but they do get watered, walked, and fed every day by a lot of plant caretakers or owners. So you don't put your potted plants out on the patio when the sun comes out, because they've probably been indoors too long and they'd love a nice sunny day. You don't do that. Fry the leaves. So anyway, I just want to say I feel for you. If you have an irrigation system, it was probably designed poorly and it was probably maintained wrong. That's just what I see. I see it everywhere I go. There's just not enough reliance on professional irrigation designers. It's a thing we do at the home do-it-yourself stores, and we think you snap it all together, you glue it all together, you lay it all out, and then you turn it on. How much? I don't know. That's the problem. You turn it on, I don't know how much. Irrigation is it's not intuitive. You're emulating rainfall. I will go toe-to-toe with any other horticultural philosopher on this one. We are emulating rainfall, okay? The reason that irrigation systems are measured in precipitation rate is we're irrigating to emulate rainfall. Drip systems don't emulate rainfall real well if we don't understand rainfall and root zones and soil ecosystems. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna get hot. We are often so far out of whack with what is natural, and I don't care about whether or not we're talking about organic or not organic, or what is natural crunchy granola. I'm talking about nature. Plants that you're growing in your yard come from a evolution from nature, and they want to live in a place that's like nature, which is a forest or a grassland or a whatever, a prairie, savanna, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's not being tended to by a human being, right? It's being tended to by Mother Nature. It's a balanced system and everything grows just fine. So here we go in the yard, we put on irrigation, we got different soil than where the plant was probably naturally, evolved to grow in, so that's fine. We get by with a lot. The plants that are at the nursery have been put through the ringer generally and have been proven to be tough enough to grow in a yard. Believe me, there's a lot of plants in nature that you're not going to take home and grow them in your yard. They won't put up with your nonsense. I like the example of Pacific Madrone. Big, tall, beautiful, gorgeous tree related to manzanita. Well, they don't grow in the yard. There may be here examples once in a while, but if you take one from a nursery in a pot and you put it in the ground and you water it and you take care of it, it's going to die. It's going to die before it becomes mature, okay? That is a plant that does not like to be cultivated, does not like to be taken care of. It does not like to be moved around, touched, or fertilized, or anything. Yet they grow in some pretty tough environments on their own. So, not every plant is tolerant of human care, and not every human has the sensitivity, bandwidth, understanding, wherewithal, resources to take care of every kind of plant. So we end up with landscapes full of a lot of the repeat stuff. People say cookie cutter landscapes. It's like, well, when it comes down to it, plants that you're not going to harm by being, neglectful, I hate to use the word, there are not a lot of them. There's not a lot of them. So you're going to get the same 10 plants in every yard if you want to just have some weekend warrior come by and take care of it real quick. And like, you don't want to have a thorough gardener budget. You know, you want to do it yourself and you don't have a lot of time. That you're going to end up with, like, 10 plants. And everybody in your neighborhood is going to have those same 10 plants, and they're going to work for you, okay? I know we're not ready for plastic plants in the landscape. We do like our plastic plants indoors. House plants are a whole other ball of yarn. So that's all I'm going to say right now is the solutions are complicated. It's called horticultural science. It's agriculture. Not everybody's got the resources to be a farmer. And even planting one bush in the yard, you're living a farmer's life now. That plant needs your care, and farmers know how to care for plants, crops, and arborists and horticulturists geek out on this stuff and obsess on it. And then the average enthusiast, who is my audience, is just wanting to have fun, and they want to buy more plants and put them in and grow their garden, their little garden of stationary pets. I totally get it. I love to garden that way too. So when the plants don't behave and they get sick, look at your nature. How is the nature in your yard? How is the soil? Did you mess with it? Well, it needs to calm down. If you're planting in the terrestrial earth, I'm not talking about raised beds. If you're planting a plant in the earth, the ground, well, that's a contiguous piece of soil that goes on for presumably miles, okay? It's part of a larger system. So when you dig a hole and you plant a plant, if you messed with it a lot, you might have broken some of the balance, and you might have transplant shock. You might have circling roots. You're probably going to have root balls drying out between waterings. You're probably not thinking about the future root zone, and you're probably not watering far enough out from one single plant. Probably watering the stem. We all like to put the hose or the drip system right where the part of the plant comes out of the ground, but its roots aren't there. I mean, they were there, but the root's trying to get 5 feet, 8 feet, 50 feet away. They're resource gathering tentacles is what roots are. Think octopus. Think tips of the tentacles of an octopus. That's where your roots are, trying to grow and spread out and get new resources, right? Plants are miners of the earth, or maybe you could say gatherers of minerals. Their roots are gathering up the minerals, and their leaves are gathering up air and the sunlight and the air and the water and the minerals is getting kind of magically converted into more wood, more leaves, more roots, more fruits and flowers, all of that made from water, dirt, air, and sunlight. Pretty trippy, right? All the air that we breathe, the oxygen that plants produce, is from that magical process of solar activated water destruction, breaking water apart into its constituent pieces and letting some oxygen go. All right, that's all I got. I want to just talk about that a little bit here today, and I hope you all have a good time. And believe me, horticultural science is a philosophy. There's many, many opinions on the matter. I have learned many contradictory modalities of growing a plant, and there are many camps who say, you're doing it wrong, yet their plants are alive. Depends on the goal. You going for long term? You going for nutrient density? You going for pretty looks? Totally different needs sometimes. If you want a tree to grow up big and tall, that may be a different need than to have the best looking flower display on the street. Very likely very different. And if you want vegetables that are big versus vegetables that are more dense with nutrition, you're going to need different systems. So yeah, hydroponic miracle grow type stuff is going to pump up some big old plants. And mineral fertilizers, complete organic fertilizers, and microbial inoculants, you're going to get some slower growing, more nutrient dense plants. You know, if you're vegetable gardening. So there's just a lot to it. Plants are very susceptible to their environment, and they're very prone to being manipulated, which is why we grow them, because we like control. I think that's probably a big part of it. Humans went to the agricultural phase, right? We went from hunter-gatherer into agriculture by learning that, whoa, the seed that I kept that led on the dirt made another plant that made more seeds. I think we can do this on scale, and that is the beginning of the agricultural revolution. Otherwise, we just looked for the plants that made the food and we ate them out where they were and brought them home. Now we figured out we can like manipulate them. And there we went. So that's kind of a little history lesson on the whole thing, folks. Have a great afternoon, plant dude.